My wife stole $250, $0 from our joint account, then hid her affair with my best friend, only to find out they were planning to sell our family home and split the profits. Now I'm fighting in court over everything. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here, telling a story like this, but life has a way of throwing you into situations you never see coming. The most unexpected moment, finding out that my wife was cheating on me with my best friend Jake. And not just that, she stole $250,000 from our joint account before she even told me she was leaving. Yeah, she took $250, $0, hid her affair, and then planned to sell our family home with Jake and split the profits. That's the kind of betrayal I'm talking about. It all started about 6 months ago. Had been acting weird, secretive texts, late nights, a little more defensive when I asked about her phone. At first, I brushed it off as work stress or just her being moody. She's always been a little bitchy when she's annoyed, but I didn't think much of it until things got worse. She started canceling plans, lying about where she was going, and I noticed her spending more time on her laptop at odd hours. I didn't suspect anything at first. Women can be sneaky, I guess. But then I caught her sneaking her phone into the bathroom during dinner. She would hide her screen when I looked over, and I remember one night I saw a text pop up that said, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Love you." That was the moment I knew something was wrong. And when I looked closer, I saw her deleting messages like her life depended on it. She was lying about where she was going, saying she was at the gym or running errands, but her location was always somewhere else. Then, I noticed the bank statements. Our savings account, which I thought was just a safety net, suddenly had a huge withdrawal, 250, zero gone. I thought maybe it was some investment or a business deal she was working on, but when I called the bank, they told me the money was transferred to an account I didn't recognize. That's when I started digging deeper. I had her phone, her emails, everything. I wanted to know what was going on. What I found was worse than I expected. There were emails and texts between her and Jake planning their little side scheme. They were talking about how they'd sell the house, split the money, and just dump me like I was some kind of fool. I couldn't believe it. The guy I'd trusted with my life, my best friend, was in on it. I felt sick. How did I not see it? How did I miss all the signs? I confronted her about the money first. I had every right to know where it went. When I showed her the bank statement, her face turned red and she started yelling. She said it was for some investment she was making, that it was all for us, but I knew better. I knew she was lying. She always lied when she got caught. She's good at it. She tried to turn it around, saying I was paranoid, that I was overreacting, but I was. I knew she was hiding something. That's when I decided I needed to see her phone. I didn't want to go through her stuff, but I was desperate. I knew she was hiding something and I needed proof. I waited until she was asleep, then I grabbed her phone. What I found was a treasure trove of betrayal. Texts with Jake planning how they'd sell the house, move out, and split the profits. They even talked about how they'd cover their tracks and make me look crazy if I ever found out. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. My wife, my partner, was conspiring with my best friend to screw me over. I couldn't sleep after that. I kept replaying everything in my head. I was furious, betrayed, and heartbroken all at once. I never thought I'd be that guy, the guy who gets cheated on and robbed blind. But here I am. That's just the beginning of what's turning into a nightmare I never expected. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a freight train. I couldn't get the image of her and Jake planning their scam out of my head. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I didn't see that my wife, who always acted like she loved me, was secretly plotting this entire betrayal. It was like discovering that everything I thought was real was just a lie. I felt numb, but also a boiling rage inside. I knew I had to confront her again, get some answers, and figure out what the hell was really going on. I decided I'd wait until she came home from work. I wanted her to think everything was normal, at least for a little while longer. I needed to gather my thoughts, get my emotions in check, and prepare for the worst. When she finally walked through the door that evening, I could tell she was nervous, but she tried to act like everything was fine. She threw on her fake smile, greeted me with a kiss, and sat down on the couch acting innocent. That was the moment I snapped. I pulled out her phone and showed her the texts. I didn't yell at first. I just laid everything out calmly but firmly. I told her I knew about the affair, the money, the conspiracy. Her face went pale, and for a second she looked like she was about to cry. But then she snapped back into her bitchy attitude, started lying again, saying I was crazy, that I was paranoid, that Jake and I had no idea what I was talking about. She called me possessive and jealous, which made me even angrier. How could she sit there and lie to my face, knowing I had the proof? She tried to spin it, said Jake was just a friend, that she was only talking to him about personal stuff, that the money was for some vague investment. But I knew better. I knew she was lying. I told her I'd already talked to the bank, that I was going to report the theft, and that I wasn't going to let her and Jake get away with it. Her reaction. She started yelling at me, saying I was ruining everything, that I was overreacting, that she loved me and never cheated. But her words felt hollow. I could see the guilt in her eyes, the way she avoided my gaze. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about what this all meant, how everything I believed about my life was shattered. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and furious. I couldn't understand how she could lie so easily, how she could betray me and my trust for money and some stupid affair. I kept replaying the moments when I was clueless, when I was just a husband, a partner, a fool. I asked myself how I let it get this far, how I didn't see the signs. I started making plans. I needed to know exactly how deep this went. I wanted to find out if there was more money she took, more lies, more plans to screw me over. I decided I'd hire a private investigator. I needed concrete proof of everything, her lies, her affair, her plans to sell the house. I knew I couldn't trust her anymore. Not after what I discovered. I also reached out to a lawyer. I didn't want to jump into anything reckless, but I knew I had to protect myself and my assets. I had a house, some savings, and I wasn't going to let her or Jake walk away with everything. I had to fight for what was mine, what I worked hard for. I felt like I was in a war, my wife and my best friend against me, and I had no choice but to stand my ground. The hardest part was knowing I loved, or at least I thought I did. I kept asking myself how she could do this to me, to us, how she could betray everything we built together. It's a strange feeling, loving someone and then realizing they've been lying to you for months. I still feel the sting of it, but I also know I can't stay blind to the truth anymore. I've got to face it head on, no matter how much it hurts. And that's exactly what I plan to do. The days that followed were a blur of legal consultations, surveillance, and endless sleepless nights. I hired a private investigator to dig into Jake's activities. I needed to see if there was more to their plans, if they had been up to something else behind my back. The pie came back with some shocking footage. Meeting Jake late at night, not just once but multiple times, always in places where I couldn't follow her without suspicion. They'd been sneaking around for months, plotting their sale of the house, and I had been completely blind to it. Meanwhile, I was trying to process the financial mess she left behind. I pulled all the account statements, bank logs, and credit reports. The $250, $0 she stole wasn't just gone. It was moved around, split into different accounts, invested in shady schemes, or hidden under fake names. It was like trying to untangle a spider web. Every move she made was calculated, designed to keep me from catching her. She'd been planning this for a long time, and I'd been too stupid to see it. One of the moments that really hit me hard was when I found out she had been secretly talking to real estate agents about selling the house. She'd even scheduled appointments without telling me. I remember confronting her about it. I told her I knew everything about the affair, the money, the sale plans. Her reaction. She threw a fit, calling me paranoid and accusing me of spying on her. She said I was overreacting, that she loved me and that I was just jealous. That was her favorite line, jealous and possessive. Like I was the problem, not her betrayal. I couldn't believe how she lied so effortlessly. She kept insisting she had no idea about the money or Jake's involvement, even though I had the proof right in front of me. She said she was going to come clean, but only if I promised not to ruin her reputation or embarrass her in front of her friends. Yeah, right. That's when I realized she was more manipulative than I thought. She was trying to buy time, to spin her lies, to keep her secret safe. But I wasn't falling for it anymore. I also found out she had been secretly withdrawing money from our shared accounts, small amounts at first, then larger sums. She was trying to cover her tracks, but I caught her. I confronted her again, and this time she snapped. She started yelling, calling me controlling, accusing me of not trusting her, and saying I was the one who'd ruined everything. But honestly, I didn't care about her excuses anymore. I was done listening to her lies. I just wanted the truth. That night, I sat alone in the living room, staring at the pictures of our life together. It all felt like a lie. I wondered how I'd been so blind, how I'd let her manipulate me for so long. I felt a deep sadness, but also a fierce determination. I knew I had to do something about this, about her and Jake, about the house, about the money. I couldn't let them get away with it. I had to fight for what was mine, even if it meant tearing everything apart. The next step was clear. I had to get the legal process started. I contacted a divorce lawyer and we went over my options. I wanted to get full custody of the house, recover the money she stole, and hold her accountable for her actions. I knew it wouldn't be easy. She was smart, manipulative, and she had friends in high places. But I wasn't going down without a fight. I owed myself that much. In the midst of all this chaos, I couldn't help but feel a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. Relief that I finally knew the truth, and heartbreak because I loved her, or at least I thought I did. It's a strange thing, loving someone who's been lying to you, betraying you, and plotting to take everything you worked for. I guess that's what they call betrayal at its worst. But I also knew that I had to move forward, no matter how much it hurt. I had to reclaim my life, my dignity, and my peace. The legal process moved faster than I expected, but in a way, it felt like I was finally taking control of a situation that had spun completely out of my hands. I filed for divorce, insisting on full custody of the house and the return of every penny she had stolen. The court documents laid everything bare: her affair with Jake, the secret sale plans, the embezzlement. I knew she'd try to spin it, try to manipulate the system like she did everything else, but I had enough proof now to back up my claims. Meanwhile, his attitude didn't change much. She still insisted she was innocent, that she loved me, that everything was just a big misunderstanding. She called me paranoid, accused me of invading her privacy, and tried to gaslight me into thinking I was overreacting. Her tone was bitchy and dismissive, like I was the one at fault for catching her in her lies. Honestly, I was starting to see her for what she really was: selfish, manipulative, and willing to lie, cheat, and steal to get what she wanted. But I wasn't going to let her win. I had the evidence, I had the law on my side, and I had my own sense of justice. I hired a forensic accountant to trace the money she stole. It turned out she'd transferred some of it into offshore accounts, probably planning to disappear with it. The rest was hidden in various investments, some shady real estate deals, and even a couple of secret savings accounts under fake names. It was a mess, but I was determined to get every cent back. One of the most shocking moments came when I found out she'd been planning to sell the house behind my back. She'd already contacted a real estate agent, scheduled viewings, and even had a buyer lined up. I confronted her about it, and her response: she said she was just exploring options, that she didn't want to stay in this dying marriage. She told me she deserved to be happy, that I was a control freak, and that she'd do what she wanted. That's when I realized just how far she was willing to go. She'd been plotting to leave me with nothing, sell my family home, and split the profits with Jake. I knew I had to act fast. I filed an emergency order to freeze the house's sale, and I got a court injunction to prevent her from transferring or selling any assets until the case was resolved. It was a small victory, but it bought me some time. Still, I could see the writing on the wall. She was desperate, and she'd do anything to save her own skin. Throughout all of this, I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and a strange sense of clarity. I'd loved once, believed in our future, but now I saw her for what she really was: someone who'd betray her vows, betray her own family, and lie through her teeth just to get what she wanted. I kept asking myself how I'd let it get this far, how I'd been so blind to her manipulations. But I also knew I had to keep moving forward, for myself and for the life I still wanted to rebuild. The emotional toll was heavy. I'd go to bed angry, wake up feeling empty, and sometimes I'd just sit in silence, trying to process everything. I kept replaying the moments I missed, the signs I ignored, and how I'd been so trusting. But I also started to realize that I wasn't at fault for her choices. I was the victim of a calculated betrayal. And I had to accept that. The worst part, knowing I'd loved her and she'd thrown that love away for greed and some stupid affair. Now I was focused on the future. I was determined to get justice, to reclaim what's mine, and to finally move past this nightmare. I knew it wouldn't be easy and there would be more surprises along the way, but I wasn't going to let her ruin me. Not anymore. I was done being the naive husband. I was done being the fool. It's time to fight back, because I deserve that much at least. The court hearings were a whirlwind. Showed up, trying her usual tactics, pouting, crying, throwing her bitchy attitude around, claiming she was the victim. She insisted she loved me, that she never intended to hurt me, and that I was just being paranoid. But I had the evidence, her texts, bank statements, the fake real estate plans, and I made sure the judge saw it all. Still kept insisting her affair with Jake was nothing serious, just some stupid mistake that got out of hand. Yeah, right. As the hearings dragged on, I couldn't shake this feeling of betrayal. I'd trusted her with my heart, my money, everything. Now I was sitting there, watching her lie her way out of it, trying to spin her way into some kind of sympathy. The worst part was seeing her act like she was the victim, like I was the one who was crazy for catching her. Honestly, I wanted to scream at her, tell her how much I hated her for what she did, how she stole from us, how she lied to my face for months. One of the most gut-wrenching moments was when the judge asked about the sale plans for the house. She tried to deny it, but I had the emails, the scheduled meetings, the conversations she'd had with the real estate agent. That was the moment I saw her true colors, calculating, manipulative, and completely selfish. She was trying to walk away with our home, our life together, and split the profits with Jake. It was sick. The judge finally made a ruling. The house would stay in my name until the divorce was finalized, and she was ordered to return the stolen money within a set. It wasn't a perfect victory, but it was enough to keep her from selling everything behind my back. Still, I knew deep down this was only the beginning. The legal battle was going to be long, messy, and emotionally draining, but I was ready for it. I had to be. Throughout it all, I kept asking myself how I'd let it get this bad, how I'd been so naive, so trusting. I thought I knew her bitchy attitude, her sharp tongue, her little manipulations. But I never imagined she'd betray me this way, rob me, cheat on me, and plan to sell our house just to get away with it all. It's a sick feeling knowing someone you loved could do something so calculated, so cold. In the quiet moments, I'd reflect on everything I'd lost, my trust, my peace of mind, my sense of security. But I also knew I had to keep moving forward. I couldn't let her or Jake destroy what's left of me. I started focusing on rebuilding, on getting my life back. I worked with a financial advisor to protect what's mine, and I started planning my next steps. I knew I had to be strong, even if inside I was hurting like hell. The hardest part, facing the reality that the woman I married, the woman I thought I knew, was capable of this level of deception. That she'd lie, cheat, steal, and conspire just to get what she wanted. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I didn't see her true face sooner. But I also learned a lot about myself, about my own strength, my resilience, and my capacity to forgive, even if I never forget. Now I'm in a different place. The legal battle isn't over, and I still have a long road ahead. But I've realized that sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to find your way back up. I'm determined to rebuild my life, to reclaim what's mine, and to make sure betrayal doesn't define me. I've got a lot of work to do, but I'm ready. Because at the end of the day, I know I deserve better than someone who'd lie, cheat, and steal their way out of love. The final court dates came and went, and with them, a mixture of relief and exhaustion settled over me. The judge ordered to pay back the stolen money immediately, and she was also ordered to relinquish any claim to the house. The sale was halted, and I finally had some semblance of control back. But even with these legal victories, I knew the emotional scars wouldn't heal overnight. Trust, once shattered like that, takes a long time to rebuild, if it can be rebuilt at all. After everything, I decided to move out of the house. I couldn't stay there, not with her still lurking around, trying to manipulate her way back into my life. I found a small apartment nearby, somewhere I could start fresh. I didn't want to be reminded of the betrayal every time I looked around. The process of packing up my things was surreal. So many memories, both good and bad, all packed into boxes. I kept thinking about how I had once believed in forever in the vows we took. Now those promises felt like distant echoes replaced by lies and greed. His behavior didn't change much after the court ruling. She tried to reach out, pleading, crying, saying she'd change, that she loved me. But I saw through her. I saw her for what she truly was, selfish, manipulative, and incapable of true remorse. I knew she'd never change. Her actions had. Spoken too loud. The woman I thought I knew was a stranger, someone I no longer recognized. The hardest part was accepting that I'd lost a future I'd built with her, that the life I imagined, our family, our home, was now just a shattered dream. But surprisingly, I also felt a strange sense of liberation. I was finally free from the lies, the betrayal, the constant suspicion. For the first time in months, I could breathe again. I could start healing piece by piece. The legal battle had taken a toll on me, emotionally, financially, physically. But it also taught me something invaluable: the importance of being cautious, of trusting my instincts, and of never ignoring the red flags. I used to think love meant blind trust, but I've learned that love also means protecting yourself, knowing when to walk away, and recognizing that sometimes the greatest act of love is walking away from someone who doesn't deserve you. Looking back, I realize I was naive, so trusting that I believed my wife's lies, so blind to her manipulations. But I also learned that resilience isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up, stronger and wiser. I've started focusing on myself now, rebuilding my confidence, my finances, and my sense of self. I've cut out toxic people, including Jake, who was no better than in my eyes. Finally, I want to say this: if you're ever in a situation where you suspect betrayal, don't ignore the signs. Trust your gut. Gather evidence. Protect yourself legally and emotionally. It's not easy and the pain is real, but you're stronger than you think. No one deserves to be lied to, robbed, or used. And even if it feels like your world is falling apart, remember, there's always a way to rebuild. Sometimes the hardest lessons teach us the most about who we really are. I won't lie, this experience has changed me. I'll never look at love or trust the same way. But I also know I'm better for having gone through it. I'll carry the scars, but I'll also carry the strength to move forward. Because at the end of it all, I know I deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect. And no matter what, I'll keep fighting for that.